And a good evening, everybody. Kevin Harnett, Ryan Hoke with you. We are here in the Wave Now room where we're watching the weather. I've got the SkyTrack camera from E-Town in between us here, and we've been watching the lightning. We've had several reports of hail this evening. We're going to talk about what's going on today and tonight. What about those record highs today?
83 degrees. We were 6 degrees above the old record. We blew the doors off of that thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was warm outside. Like, I mean, if you were out walking, I was sweating in the first 5 minutes.
But we were concerned we wouldn't make it to 80 today. And boy, we really bounced above that. That's part of the reason why the storms popped up as active as they did tonight.
Yeah, no question. And plenty of moisture made it in here, which was sort of the crux of the whole forecast is would we see enough moisture return depending on those storms in Tennessee. All right, we see a lot of folks jumping in from, I see... well, there's Bardstown and E-Town and Charlestown and Muldrow. We're going to get to your questions. Not only are we talking about today's weather, but we've got another alert day coming up on Friday. There's some of that lightning we were talking about. So we're going to talk about Friday's forecast too. It looks a little wild as well. So let's jump to it. I'm going to start out by mentioning again the record high. 83 degrees, topped the previous record set back in 1976. And that was 77 degrees. So no question, we're dealing with record values today. And this isn't the first time this week. Our second record high this week.
Isn't that crazy? And if this were a leap year, and today we're February 29th, this would have been only the third time that we've seen 80 degrees in February. Missed it by a day, but boy, we really went way above 80 at that.
Yeah, and then that would have been added into our winter totals too, and that would have really shot. I mean, we've had the warmest winter in what, 91 years?
91 years. The winter of 31-32, 1931-1932 is the one that we had that was warmer than this one the last time.
All right, we take a look at some of the temperatures outside now at 66 Louisville, still in the 70s down in parts of Marion, Washington, down into Taylor County. Hello, Campbellsville, 70 degrees there. Lexington still at 73.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the dew point because this, again, was a critical number we were watching. And we were all having this conversation this afternoon, and we were saying that magic number was like 60 degrees on the dew point. If we could achieve that, that would be sort of the breaking point of the atmosphere to see those storms take off.
And that's what happened. I remember looking up and seeing, Jeffersonville hit a 61-degree dew point. And sure enough, that's when everything just went nuts. And you can see Jeffersonville now, 59 degrees, pretty juicy for this time of year and plenty of moisture to get those storms to power up the way they did today.
Yeah, the dew points really give us just their temperature. Obviously, you can see the mark beside it. Gives us an idea of how much moisture is in the atmosphere. When the temperature equals the dew point, the relative humidity is 100%. This just gives us an idea of where we need to be to see those storms go. If you've been watching the evening newscast starting at 4 o'clock, we started to see those thunderstorms pop out to our west. There was no stopping them by that point. We had plenty of moisture return coming in, and we're still tracking some of these storms. The warning you see just west of Lexington is just east of our viewing area, so that's moving away. And again, most of the storms that we've seen tonight haven't been so much involved with what we would say is strong winds as much as hail.
we kept looking at the wind velocity in these storms and going, there's not much going on down here. Maybe a 45, a 50 mile per hour gust. 60 is that threshold for a severe thunderstorm warning. This has all been hail driven this evening, and the hail reports have been pretty impressive for what we had to work with.
Yeah, I want to show some of those hail reports. So call them up over there, Ryan, and then we'll take them full screen because a number of you, if you have the Wave Weather app, that's the best way to get reports to us because they come right into our computer, and you'll notice that. I mean,
wow,
just take a look.
That's impressive.
This came in from Jerry saying started large and sort of slow and then really came down like crazy. But that's close to, quarter to golf ball size hail.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. Oh my gosh. I mean, then they have multiple photos that they've submitted there too. Look at all that. That's intense.
And then there again, same person submitting it. It went from very large to a much smaller, but a lot more in sort of amounts.
Makes sense as the hail core went over like that. There's Ashley Bowen, hail in Memphis, Indiana. I think we can play back this video here. We'll see if it cooperates. It indeed does look like it might be trying. Trying to go through probably a penny size in there, real short video. New Washington, Indiana. Here we go with Charlestown right here. Look at that. All of these, of course, submitted on the Wave Weather, and you can submit. Hit that submit your photos button on there. That looks like snow. That's right wild. Along US 42. We were tracking that hail core on Wave News at 7. Not surprised to see something like that out of there.
So that's right out of Goshen. We had a number of folks sending those in. Pat saying, hey, we got hammered by hail. Sure enough. Ann seeing the same thing in Carrollton with that hail coming down. And then Sharon up in Deem Lake, Clark County, Indiana, seeing some of that hail bounce around on the back deck.
That's impressive. Crazy hailstorm, Highway 150, Palmyra and Greenville there, right in Harrison and Floyd County on the border there. I mean, it literally looks like it snowed. John Foster, Greenville, Indiana. I showed this one on TV, believe it or not. He says marble size, somewhere near nickel, maybe getting close to that quarter size designation there. Dixie Road, Southwest Corridor, Indiana. This is from Marty Hamilton at 7 o'clock this evening. These hailstones are fairly small, but if I can get the video to play, somewhat impressive nonetheless to see that. Well, the video's not going to play. Here's another one we showed on TV earlier from Dylan, New Salisbury, Indiana. And I love how Dylan did this photo because you can see the tape measure. So now we know how big the hail was, and we could tell it was about quarter size, maybe just a little bit bigger. Kevin was able to get Marty Hamilton's video to play there. And you really get a sense of scale when you see the videos on these because it kind of lets you compare the size of the hail that's falling, how much of a bounce it has. It's impressive stuff.
Yeah, I tell you, we appreciate all the reports. It really makes things real, so to speak. There's nothing better than the ground truth that comes from our eyes and the cameras that we have on the ground. We're able to sort of pass that information along to the Weather Service as well. All right, let's jump into the radar. I'm going to zoom in just a bit here. We've got a lot of lightning. In fact, I'm just going to take the lightning off. It's going to take me back to the home view, but here we go. I'm going to zoom in because Louisville's in the clear. We're out. Done. We're not going to see probably any more rain out of this deal. It keeps moving off to the south and east. Now, this is the thunderstorm that has the warning on it. This one sits just outside of the viewing area, but I'll mention it for folks that may be watching us from Anderson County or Mercer County. Typically, we don't make it into Woodford, but some of the others. And you can see that the hail size, less than 3/4 of an inch, 60 mile per hour winds possible. All of this is radar indicated. This includes places like Ashbrook and Lawrenceburg. This is pretty much just due south of Frankfort. So that's the severe thunderstorm that we have to contend with moving out of our area and over toward Lexington. So Lexington would be next to see the strongest part of the storm. In our viewing area, southern parts of Franklin County, and then let's just take it down. You see Willisburg, Springfield, that's Washington County, Indiana. They're seeing some gusty winds. Notice how it sort of bowed out just a little bit, but that's some strong wind and a period of heavy rain.
It's that wiggle along the line that has our attention there. Maybe some 50, 55 mile per hour gusts. You see the lightning put back on and off. Showing you where the strikes are. It's been very impressive to see those lightning strikes. A little farther to the west we go, you see New Haven getting ready to get rocked by some heavier rain that's now in northern LaRue County.
I'm surprised my phone's not blowing up.
It should be here in about 20 minutes. The way
everybody from New Haven, all my family down in Nelson County.
We got pea-sized hail down here. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more reports of that once this hits southern Nelson, a little bit more populated down that way.
When we zoom into that, we're looking for some of those purples to show up. There's not a whole lot of that. The hail threat is diminishing earlier when we had those sort of tight hail cores, you
That
could
was
really
bad.
pick it out on the radar. But for now, as we sort of scan across LaRue County, there's Hodgenville down toward Upton, move on over into parts of Grayson County. Most of this is weakening, so this isn't too crazy.
Heather says it is bad in New Haven, by the way. She just chimed in
All
there.
right,
Thank
good.
you. Thank you, Heather.
Yes,
We appreciate
we do appreciate everybody's reports, whether that comes from where you're chiming in online here as we're having this conversation, because really it does need to go both ways, or you're sending pictures in through the Wave Weather app, right?
both ways are great ways to get the information straight to us so we can get it straight to the air here, especially with your photos. Ground truth is great. Of course, here in Louisville right now, things are pretty quiet, which is good. You know, this was such a short fuse severe weather threat today. We knew it was only going to last just a few hours. And now we're kind of morphing into almost a flooding situation for central Kentucky.
Well, it could happen, and here's why. I mean, you just look down to Litchfield, Needtown. You've already had over an inch and a quarter of rain, inch and a third Needtown. So what we'll be watching is we still have more rain to go, and as that sort of takes place, we could be dealing with some areas that go into a flash flood. That would be the zone, though, down close to the parkways, it looks like. Here in Louisville, most places saw less than a tenth of an inch, with the exception of downtown and Prospect. So right along the river, we had those stronger storms move through. The ones with hail that we showed, those are the ones that produced the heavier rain here.
Proof's in the pudding. You see that quarter inch near Lanesville with one of those stronger storms that moved through. But now southern Indiana is pretty dry, as well as our Kentucky counties right along the Ohio River here.
So now here's the deal, and here's why flooding is a little bit of a concern. You'll notice that initially, as the storms moved through, they sort of bowed like this, and they moved on to the east. Notice they're approaching Lexington like that. But what's happening now as we look back out toward the west is it's sort of elongating west to east. And that means repetitive rain going over the same areas that we see until it moves out. And that'll be where we see those intense rainfall totals come in that could exceed 3 to 4 inches of rain in some places. And unfortunately, that's where we could wind up seeing some of the flash flooding potential.
Yeah, turn around, don't drown, as we say always. Don't try to risk it, especially at night. You can't see this stuff. Look at all these hail reports today. This is from the National Weather Service local storm reports that they get in from the community, and then they redistribute back out to us here. And it's so easy to see where the main hail cores were today. It was just like one big track started in southern Crawford County with that 1.5 inch in diameter hail report, bigger than $half size. Went through western Clark County into parts of Floyd County, Indiana there, and then eventually in
Clark
toward
and
Madison.
Jefferson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right, these are some other reports that we've received. These are what we call MPing reports. Anybody can submit these. You do that through the MPing app. Everybody should download that because, frankly, everybody can be a weather spotter, and we see these right into our computer there. So I know Andre is chiming in. So.
Yeah, and he says, can you explain MPing? So that's perfect timing on that. And the deal with MPing is this is sort of new to us. So we may be one of the few TV stations in the country with the methodology to show this here. But essentially, MPing was started by the University of Oklahoma back in the 2010s. And it is a project that's trying to figure out how to make the colors you see on radar for sleet, snow, rain, etc., more accurate. And the way they do that is they solicit reports from the public, and how you submit those reports of what you're seeing, whether it's rain, snow, hail, damaging winds, kind of any sort of weather, is through the MPing app, or an app like RadarScope, which many of us weather nerds may already have on our iPhones and Android devices. So when you submit your reports on there, just make sure, of course, they're true reports. We can display those here on television, and you can see that we've color coded some of these reports. A lot of pea-size hail reports, some dime size, and certainly a couple of quarters we were able to pick up on today, especially as you move into northwest Oldham County near Skylight. That 1 quarter size hail report was very helpful during our 7 o'clock newscast. So we're all about the data here, and we're all about you folks sending in your reports. So the photos are super helpful. And then if you're a super weather nerd like us, you can, of course, submit via MPing as well. Help us out, especially during winter weather and hail like today.
Yeah, that's been a project we've been working on for really just the last few days, last week or so.
We just started this.
We said, hey, we want to get these reports that are out there there because they're so valuable to put them in where we can show them. And again, it came in very handy today, much like the lightning data that you see popping on. So data is good. We mentioned that one report across far western parts of Oldham County. Again, zooming out, you can see the setup. It's far more robust to the south. They have the warmer, well, I mean, we have warm temperatures here too, but they have warm temperatures and even more moisture to work with. So tornado warnings are in progress along the state lines as you work your way southern Tennessee into parts of northern Mississippi and Alabama.
That's actually a fairly populated area of Mississippi, Corinth, Mississippi, Alcorn State University down there. So a lot of folks in that very northeastern tip there taking cover with that tornado warning.
All of this ahead of the cold front that will eventually sweep past us, already moving closer to Louisville, and then will eventually move across the state. But once that passes, the threat of severe weather is over. I know a lot of people have questions, and we're going to go through those in just a second. I wanted to tackle the radar view so you could see where the storms were. There's still a risk for some stronger storms in the southern part of the viewing area, but the severe weather threat for us is really being cut off because it was generally driven by the sunlight, in addition to the moisture that was coming in. So now that we've lost the heating of the day, things are starting to ease just a bit and stabilize. And that's going to be the trend on through the balance of the evening hours. Obviously, we have plenty of lightning, heavy rain, and the potential for some small hail with these storms moving across Washington, southern Nelson, far western parts of Marion, LaRue, southern Hardin, and Grayson counties will continue pushing off to the south and east.
One good sign I am seeing when we are talking about the flooding situation here is that the radar returns west of Litchfield now are a lot less intense than they were even just 20 minutes ago. It's still going to be a lot of rain, but it looks like it won't be quite as intense as it could be here. But we'll continue to monitor that for you folks down there. If you hear about a flash flood warning in your area, take it seriously.
Overnight tonight, once we get the front past here, it will be a little cooler. We're going to drop into the 40s. A few places could go into the 30s and off to our south and east, holding onto the clouds perhaps a little longer, which most of us should hold on to a mostly cloudy sky, should be in the low 50s to the upper 40 range. So these are for early tomorrow morning. All right, now quickly, let me jump into and talk about Friday's system. We appreciate your reports. We've talked about that. We said thank you, and we look forward to seeing many more. Friday brings another alert day, mainly because of wind. Seems like this year we're so used to this because every fifth day, it's like we're having to deal with powerful winds, not so much in the way of severe weather, but extremely what we call gradient winds. And that's just winds that sometimes don't even accompany thunderstorms, and they last for a chunk of the day.
And a little bit earlier this week, we were going through the data going all the way back to 1970. And yes, your suspicion is right. It has been windier through about this time this year than most of the time that we've seen all the way back to 1970 going through this period of the year here. So it is about 4.5 miles per hour windier on the gust side of things than we would typically see. So yes, this is abnormal for those wondering.
Oh, we talked about that. What was it, Monday?
I think
where
so.
we had the wind speeds that were at 64 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And that was the 15th highest wind speed we'd seen since 1970.
Right. And that joins a list that includes the windstorm in 08 and the tornado outbreak in 1974 there. So only 1564 plus mile per hour wind gusts at Louisville's airport since 1970.
May not be quite that windy on Friday, but it's going to be windy. You're going to notice, 45 to 55 mile per hour winds. And there's a potential for some stronger storms. So let's go through that. We see heavy rain moving in through the overnight hours, 3, 4, 5 a.m. A wet morning rush, going to slow you down. This is Friday morning. And then midday, we don't see a whole lot of a break. Obviously, you can see our rain chances there, but we do see the potential for some stronger storms to move in late morning, early afternoon before everything fades away by mid to late afternoon.
And this is a very short time frame of severe. It's only 2 of those bars were red. There's a very narrow window when this could happen, and Futurecast will explain that better.
Yeah, and we can look at that and show that this is the early morning hours. This is 3, 4 in the morning. It's solid with rain. We see that we could start to interject a little more wind in here, and that's going to be some of the red that you see. I don't want to confuse you because that's not a wind measurement. That is heavier rain, but it's being influenced by some of the wind increasing. Mm-hmm. And then you can see that by the time we reach 8, 9 o'clock, we have a bulk of the heaviest rain moving through and just about past us. And that's where we could start to see maybe even a few breaks in the clouds, but with that, some more cellular type storms that would move through midday.
It's exactly this future radar snapshot here that we want to show you with those broken up cells. And notice if you've been paying attention, like Campbellsville, Columbia, Greensburg, they really didn't get much rain in the morning. So they're on the southern edge of the system and would be the most prone to seeing severe weather out of that midday round.
And there it goes before we see the cooler temperatures come back in with drier weather by the weekend. So if we're looking purely at a severe weather chance, just like Ryan mentioned, it's going to be off to our south and east. However, all of us will be in on the wind throughout the day, and you can see how that ramps up through the morning hours and especially into the afternoon, where we could see those wind gusts 45, 55 miles per hour, in a few cases, maybe even higher if you get under one of those stronger thunderstorms.
So it's sort of like a 1-2-3 deal. Number 1, morning rain. Number 2, midday strong storms. Number 3, the potential for wind gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour during the afternoon. 1, 2, 3 punch alert day for Friday.
And that's why we have the alert day out. The radar's coming back up. It'll sit between us. And then what we'll do is just take some of your questions. So let's thumb through those. Ryan, you have the control on that.
I'll start with one to lighten the mood a little bit, shall we? Todd Richmond saying, is there going to be school tomorrow? And yes, there will be school tomorrow. It's
He's looking for a meeting.
Yes.
Only Todd will know what that means.
Okay. Ashley says, so nothing severe early morning. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is out. I get that. Yeah, at this point, it looks like on Friday, the early morning would be the rainfall part of this. Not so much the severe weather. It'd be more toward midday.
Right. We'll scroll back up toward the top. We're going to take as many questions as we can. We're 5 minutes before 9 o'clock, so we've got a little bit of time here. Again, just keeping an eye on the radar. Nothing much happening in terms of severe weather for us, but we do still have some pretty loud thunderstorms moving across central Kentucky. All right, here comes one from Robin. She said lots of rain, thunder, and lightning down in E-Town. Yep, no question about that. We see it on the radar. While Ryan's working that computer, I can zoom into E-Town
Yeah,
here.
you folks kind of on the northern edge of that now after getting rocked a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyler says he downloaded MPing, ready for next time. Yeah, it's a fun app because you can see everybody else's reports too. It's something that, NWS has partnered with OU, University of Oklahoma on. So kind of just fun for everybody and helpful for sure.
Yeah, Heather in New Haven saying pouring there, and yep, it sure is. That'll be your heaviest. E-Town starting to move out of the heaviest of rain. New Haven still seeing some rain. Remember, though, it's sort of extending back to the west, so you may not be completely finished as you get closer to the parkways. This rain may come in waves, and in some cases, it's going to be consistent.
Yeah, thunder in or in Bardstown, I should say, according to Ashley. No shock there. Look at all those lightning strikes in the past 5 minutes. By the way, when you see lightning on our radar, it's in the past 5 minutes, and that's a lot. Springfield, Willisburg, New Haven, down toward Hodgenville. Yeehaw.
Yeah, no question. And that's another sign of hail. Likely in the storms, the friction is created as those hailstones go up and down in the thunderstorm, and when you create that creates the electricity. So gives you just a sort of a generic idea.
Jackie kind of has a bottom line question here: is the severe threat almost over or not?
Good question, Jackie. Depends where you are. If you're, let me zoom out on the radar. If you're in Louisville or southern Indiana, yes, the severe weather threat is over. If you are anywhere along the parkways, that severe weather threat still is there, but it's minor. Okay.
Let's see. Tammy Washburn says starting to rain and thunder in Marion County. This is kind of your main round.
Just now
starting to
coming
move
in.
through.
Just now coming into Marion County. So places like Holy Cross, Loretto, Raywick, picking up the rain. Lebanon, heaviest just north of you, but that's going to sweep through. So your worst is just now moving in Marion County. Not severe, but again, putting down some lightning and heavy rain.
We had a YouTube comment from E-Town. Lots of hail, windy, lightning. Yes, it was very busy down there. Same story down there in southern Frankfort, which was looks like a little bit while ago because you folks are starting to clear out now.
Yeah, interesting that, Ryan just mentioned coming in on YouTube, but we're broadcasting this on all of our digital channels. So we're on Roku, on the Amazon Fire Stick, on Apple TV. We're on the weather app, the news app, wave3.com. We're on our Facebook pages. We're on Twitter. We're also on our 24/7 channel. If you're watching it there, you can't see some of the social comments that we're reading, but that's why we read them and we're answering them. So we're sort of blasting out across all of our platforms here the latest weather that's happening.
Let's see. Brooklyn has a really good question here. She's going to Indianapolis Friday morning at 7 a.m. That's going to be a tough drive.
Oh, it's going to be wet.
It's going to
and
be very
heavy rain.
very heavy rain that time. And this just says, Lebanon, it's pouring. Oh, Braden's got a good question. Could the slight risk for Friday be pushed north? And can we also see an upgrade to an enhanced on Friday? So Friday's deal depends on the track of the low pressure that's moving through, right? So if the low pressure track goes to the north, then everything shifts north, including all those severe weather risks. What we're not seeing in the data this evening is much of a sign that that's going to happen. In fact, today, we've seen a little bit of a southward jog in it, which is why that slight risk only encompasses parts of southern Kentucky and parts of the Lexington area as well. So we shall see indeed what happens with that tomorrow. Let's see. Timing for the heaviest rain on Friday, asks Mary. We're putting it on the screen right now. The heaviest, most consistent rain will be that early morning time, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then the highest chance for stronger storms, they may have some space in between them, would be around midday or so. So this is like heavy rain, then strong storms, then gusty winds, 1, 2, 3. If you can remember that in your head, you've got our forecast right side up.
Yep. All right. Myrtle is up. Myrtle says it is thunder and lightning in Frankfurt. Yes, we've seen that, especially off to your south. So most of that's moving south of the capital city at this point. All right. Augusta is asking about the tornado potential for Friday. And again, it's fairly low for us. What we will see is heavy rain and gusty winds. Areas to our south have a much greater potential for tornadoes.
It's just such a very narrow window up here. Mary says rain, lightning, and thunder in Upton from LaRue County. Always happy to hear from our friends down there.
I see Lisa saying, hey, I'll say hey back to her.
Hello.
Yes. Hello, Lisa. Miss you.
Nathaniel, we kind of answered that question. This very low tornado threat, more of a strong wind threat. This would be for Friday again. We've got another YouTube comment, clear for Breckenridge County. And
Let me
we'll
put
go
the
back
radar back
to the
up.
radar.
In
You guys are
general,
keeping
yes.
us bouncing around, that's for sure, on the weather graphics.
The
It's a good
answer-
thing.
And let me rewind it because I got the MPIG totals coming up. There's MPIG. And here's the radar. Breckenridge County, southern Breck, still seeing some rain, but as far as any severe weather, you are in the clear.
Okay. Let's see. Just started up again between E-Town and Radcliffe. Yeah, you guys got a little bit of rain there. Let's see what else we got coming in. A lot of folks from E-Town and a lot more folks than usual on our YouTube channel today. That is fantastic to see. Thank you to all of our YouTube viewers. This is something we started up just a few months ago, and we're really kind of sinking our teeth into it. We really appreciate your viewership here. Always like and subscribe, and tell your friends to follow Wave News on YouTube.
All right.
Let's see what else have we got here. A lot of folks thanking us. We appreciate that. Good question from Kentucky Girl here. I know this is a bit of a divergent question, but has the rain from the West Coast been helping to make a dent in their drought? Yes, it has. And it's been helping us too, because we've gotten out of our drought from those same systems that have been going across the country. We've had a couple of cutoff low pressure.
It's been the whole repeat performance that we've seen. I mean, that's what's happened with these high wind
It's
events.
true.
They've all been the Pacific events.
Bingo. It's these cutoff lows right off the coast of Los Angeles, California. They get snow in the mountains, lots of rain and weird stuff in LA proper. They roll across the country, surface low forms, boom. And then we get our wind and rain events here, much like we've had lately. Braden saying, I wonder if schools and businesses will have wave weather now up on Friday to stay updated. I hope they do. Wouldn't that be nice?
I know we've taken one from Todd earlier, but just above Braden's question, he has a question. What's with the nasty rumor that Good was spreading this morning? I'm just going to show this because I took a screenshot and I haven't even showed it to
mercy.
Brian yet. You're not going to be able to see it from that camera, but the bottom line is I'm going to read it to you. And I received this text today that says, well, looks like February is the new June. March is looking to be like the new July. But Brian Good from Wave News said that it's possible we receive more snow in March than we have all winter.
It wouldn't take much, though.
Now, see, first of all, Brian, if he was sitting up here, it'd be like snow talk and there'd be snow falling behind us, right? Because he's a snow.
It's true.
He's a snow lover.
He's a
Actually,
geek.
it'd be storm talk, but he loves winter. But even he is about to let go. Keywords about. It does look much colder. By the time we get into the second week of March, we cool back down into the 30s and 40s for highs. So
I think it's a pretty good bet that
It's-
March will look more like winter than February did at any point.
Probably
I
true.
would agree that's the
So
truth.
if we say that, are we finished with snow? Maybe not.
Remember, it has snowed in this city on the first day of spring and well into April before. So this is not an impossibility.
I want more 80s.
I'll take more 80s too, but I'm tired of the wind at this point. I think that my hair can't take that anymore.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that.
Extra hair gel. Kentucky Girl says, love seeing you all on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. We've got so many YouTube folks on here.
Yeah.
This is so different.
The
I love
YouTube
this.
folks want to know if the government's cloud seeding. I don't think so.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Let's see.
We could talk about it. I mean, isn't that what we do on YouTube? Just take the challenges as they come.
The weather challenge. I can see it right now. That's TikTok, I feel like.
Oh, we're not on TikTok. We need to add the TikTok account.
If we could only go live on that from here. Maybe someday soon. We'll see.
Maybe not. I mean, six platforms seems to be enough.
We need to be worldwide on carrier pigeons and bat signals, whatever.
I think they banned the TikTok. Maybe they banned the TikTok from us. Government agencies.
That's so interesting to see what happens with that. What the evolution of that's
information.
Kimberly asking for information. Is the severe weather over for Boston? And mostly, I think so for Boston. You guys are just in the heavy rain.
Listen, at this point, there's not much of a severe weather risk anywhere. You saw the latest warning just sort of fade off. This is a rainmaker at this point, and some heavy rain is possible along the parkways, and that's what we're really watching. We could wind up with 2-3 inches of rain falling in that zone. That could cause some flash flooding. So that's really the problem.
Chris Bowles always in here with the geeky questions. I love it. Any gradient wind gusts still forecast at 60 miles per hour on Friday. Highest I saw was 56.
I was going to say 55 is what I saw.
Yeah, I think 56 is what I converted from knots to miles per hour earlier. That was the highest I saw. So we'll see. Shonda says he said March 10th to be specific. Brian Good did about the snow. So yes,
I'm going to write that down.
Straight from his mouth to your ears, back to our mouths again here. Lisa says it snowed Derby one year, 1989. There was sleet and snow on Derby Day. Mitchell says hello from Taylorsville. Hello to you. And then Charmander the Catcher. I love that. It's like Pokemon. From YouTube here. What do you think of Friday for E-Town? You guys are kind of on the cusp of where you could have some stronger storms in southern Kentucky. You're on that northern edge. I would pay attention to the forecast closely.
There's Nathaniel bringing up a good point, saying he heard the tornado sirens earlier today. The tornado drill went well. I hope everybody had a chance to get the alert somehow. At 10:07 this morning, the state of Kentucky issued the test tornado warning. That was a time for us to test all of our equipment to make sure it was working. The state tested theirs. The sirens went off. Everyone at home should have put their plan into action as a test, and that's what today was all about. At this point, with the wacky weather that we've had going on, at some point we're going to be faced with a critical scenario, meaning there's a tornado. What do we do? And it's going to be critical that you know what to do, where to go, because in that sort of instance, every second matters. So that's why it's so important. I know we sort of get complacent because year after year, it's like, we haven't had a lot of severe weather in recent years. And then you see what happened in Mayfield, and then you see what happened in Eastern Kentucky with the flooding. So the bottom line is it's getting closer and closer over the last 24 months. Bottom line is it can happen here, and eventually it will. And make sure you have a plan.
And Indiana's drill, by the way, I believe is the second week of March. So that's coming up in a little bit for you folks up there north of the river. Kind of dovetailing onto that, Braden's asking, could flood watches and wind advisories be issued on Friday? I definitely think a wind advisory. There may be a high wind watch that was mentioned in National Weather Service Forecast Office Louisville's discussion today. Would not be shocked if that happened.
Essentially what they said in that discussion was you could almost guarantee a wind advisory being issued, and that could turn into or go to a high wind warning.
Bingo, that is possible. Severe threat for Seymour on Friday. You guys would be the lowest severe threat in our area because you're so far north of that low pressure trend.
And this is asking again about the sirens. She said she didn't hear them in Marion County. I just wanted to pull this one up and say, if you were inside, you may not hear them. Outdoor tornado sirens, the warning sirens, are not meant to be heard inside. If you were outside near one and didn't hear it, you should report it and let them know. Because the ones outside should be working, but you don't necessarily hear them inside. They're not meant to give warning to people that are indoors.
Ashley says she loves our tag team style that we've got going on right now.
Oh, there you go.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we're trying something a little different here. From YouTube, Dimitri at Liberty says, I slept through the Kentucky tornado drill test today. Oh, no.
Let's go to Willisburg.
All right,
There's
let's
Chelsea.
see.
She's asking if the severe weather is over. For the most part, yes. It's just south of Willisburg. It's south of Springfield. It's moving across extreme southern parts of Washington County, not too far from Lebanon into Marion County. So that area, seeing the heaviest of the rain, we'll continue to see rain. So, Chelsea, while the threat of severe weather is easing, the threat of some flooding just to your south is certainly still possible.
Melanie says, the rain doesn't bother me as much as the wind does. It blew my granddaughter's trampoline upside down into our pool, breaking the bars. Trampolines are like wind magnets.
Yeah,
so
right.
Secure those over the next few days.
I tell you what, wasn't it crazy on Monday with that strong wind? I mean, Monday's a trash day for my neighborhood.
Gosh.
I felt like I lived in a landfill. I was outside at like 2 a.m. when I got home. Like, I mean, if people had like cameras outside, they're probably like, who is this clown out here moping around the alleyway picking up trash? It was me.
Kevin Harnett doing his civic duty, cleaning up the neighborhood.
Yeah, they probably thought I was going through their trash.
Quite literally going through their trash.
Right.
Let's see. Let's see. Oh, do we have a recommended tornado safe kit? Charmander is asking here.
I mean, I think that everyone sort of goes different. I think every home, first of all, start with how you get the warnings. Everybody should have 2 ways to get warnings. Redundancy is key. That's why we always say you should have the Wave Weather app is 1. 2, we feel like every home should have a NOAA weather radio. That's sort of a smoke detector for storms, if you will. And you can program those nowadays to where they only affect your county. And that's nice because the old ones used to go off for the whole range of counties. And that really got annoying.
Like that one in our weather office right now that I need to put a same code in because it's going to drive me nuts anyway.
But see, I like it to go off for all of them. So in my house, it's always alarms.
It sounds
in the weather office.
It sounds like mission control. The mission is going very poorly when we get a warning in that weather office.
Well, see, you don't miss one, do you?
No, we don't miss them. That's for
go.
sure. Jackie asking.
I'm not sure I answered the question though. Are there other things that you feel should be in the tornado?
I mean, however, like a flashlight is great. Make sure you're wearing shoes because in case you do incur some damage, fresh batteries in that flashlight.
Water.
If you've got like a bicycle helmet, you can also wear that too. It helps with the debris if there's a problem at your place. But yeah, just very basic stuff like that, just to make sure that you can get through the next few hours.
Jetpack.
All right, George Jetson. I love that. For Jackie here, it's just mainly rain down in Horse Cave. I think you guys are too far north to see any of the mess that's going on in Tennessee right now. But
again, still a lot of rain.
Yeah, it is a lot of rain. Oh, we've had this question posed to us today, and I don't know the answer. Do you know the answer? The 10:07 a.m. Why is it 10:07 a.m. that they do the tornado drill in Kentucky?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I should know the
answer.
answer.
We got that email earlier today too, and I'll
find the answer, Braden.
We'll figure it out at some point here.
All right.
That's the end of our comments. We've reached the end. How about that?
Well, good deal. And it's perfect timing because it's almost 9:15. So we're going to have to wrap things up. Again, we appreciate everybody jumping on here. I know as we have weather that's rolling through, we like to give you updates. And tonight's one of those nights where it wasn't really severe, at least while we were on. And if it was, we'd be on TV, which means we'd be on all these platforms too. But this gives us a way to sort of interact with everybody. Whereas when we're on TV, we're sort of so focused on the information just to get it out in one direction, as opposed to having that conversation both ways. So I actually like doing this because it's fun to see what's happening everywhere and what everybody's up to.
We talk to cameras all day and we don't get that two-way communication from our viewers. So this is the closest thing we can get to it. So we really appreciate it. Special shout out to our friends and neighbors on YouTube. YouTube, kind of our new platform that we've been streaming to, and glad to see so much engagement from there tonight. We will keep doing these.
Yeah, for sure. We'll say goodnight for now. Be back on Wave News at 11. I'll have an update. By that point, we'll have a lot of model data in, looking again at Friday, a little more specifics on the timing, the threat of severe weather. So we'll see you on Wave News at 11 o'clock. Hope you have a good evening.
We'll see you.